Do you ever feel like you're giving everything to someone who just pulls away the moment things get close? Like you're standing with your arms wide open, heart on fire, and they're behind glass watching you, feeling something, but not stepping through? Let me tell you something most people never understand. Avoidance love. Oh, they love DEE. But the way they show it, it's like trying to read poetry written in invisible ink. They weren't wired to lean in. They were wired to survive, to protect, to guard. And here's the truth. Just because someone pulls away doesn't mean they don't care. It might mean they care more than you think, but fear it even more than that. So today, let's break down how the avoidant actually loves you back and how you can stop chasing shadows and start seeing the silent signs of love. Love doesn't always come dressed in roses, poetry, and long heart-spilling conversations. Sometimes love looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like distance. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, pulling away isn't a sign that they've stopped caring. It's often the clearest sign that they're overwhelmed by just how much they care. You see, avoidants learned at some point in their life, consciously or not, that closeness can be dangerous. Maybe it was a parent who was inconsistent or emotionally unavailable. Maybe it was love that came with strings, demands, or even punishment. So their nervous system, over time, started equating intimacy with discomfort and independence with safety. When an avoidant starts to feel too emotionally close, they don't think, wow, this is beautiful, I'm safe. Their body responds with a red alert. They feel smothered, flooded, like their space is being invaded and their identity is under threat. And so they do what they've always done. They retreat. They put up a wall. They go quiet. They might cancel plans, delay texts, become vague. To someone craving intimacy, this behavior feels like rejection. It feels cold. It feels cruel. But what's really happening is that they're trying to regulate to get back to a place where they feel emotionally stable. That distance isn't indifference. It's their version of catching their breath. Here's the part people often miss. Avoidants don't necessarily want to be distant. It's not a conscious choice like, I'm going to hurt this person now by pulling away. Most of the time, they don't even realize they're doing it. It's automatic. It's wired into them. Their system says, too close, retreat now. And unless they've done serious inner work, that reaction is lightning fast and hard to override. Ironically, many avoidants deeply crave love, connection, and emotional safety. They want to be known, held, seen. But the moment that gets too real, they panic. Not because it's wrong, but because it's new. And new, to them, has never meant safe. The hardest part for the person loving an avoidant is not taking the distance personally, because everything inside you screams, if they loved me, they wouldn't back away. But love, in their world, doesn't look like yours. It looks like silence when emotions run high. It looks like space instead of closeness. And it takes real strength to hold back from chasing when all you want is connection. But that pause, that calm, self-assured space is exactly what allows the avoidant to come back. To feel safe, to trust that you aren't trying to consume or control them. You're just there, loving, steady, patient, not because you're tolerating their behavior forever, but because you understand that not every step back is a goodbye. Sometimes it's just their way of trying to stay in the room without burning out. In a world where everyone screams louder to be heard, sometimes love speaks the softest when it's scared. And when it withdraws, it's not always leaving. Sometimes it's just breathing. And it's so difficult for us. Sometimes it's just breathing. Avoidants are often misunderstood because they rarely express love in the ways people expect. They're not the ones writing long love letters, pouring out their heart over candlelight, or making bold romantic declarations. Instead, they show love in quiet, practical, and often overlooked ways. While others may say, I love you, with words, The avoidant says it through actions, through what they do, not what they say. It's easy to miss this kind of love if you're looking only for emotional openness or constant verbal reassurance, but it's there, and in its own way, it's real, steady, and deeply meaningful. For an avoidant, vulnerability is terrifying. It feels like handing someone a loaded weapon and hoping they won't use it. So instead of exposing their emotions, they express care through responsibility, reliability, and acts of service. They'll make sure your tires are filled with air, remind you to take your medicine, or send you a link to something you need without ever saying, "I was thinking about you." They'll fix things around the house, solve problems before you ask, or give you space when they sense you're overwhelmed, even if they're not entirely sure how you feel. They're not trying to avoid showing love. They're showing it in the way they know how, through usefulness, presence, and action. This can be incredibly confusing if your love language is words of affirmation, quality time, or emotional transparency. You might think they're cold, uncaring, or disconnected. But take a closer look. Did they remember that one thing you mentioned in passing and make it happen without fanfare? Do they check in on you after a hard day? Not with "how do you feel?" but with "did you eat?" or "want me to take care of that?" That's love in their language. It's not dramatic, but it's intentional. It's not loud, but it's consistent. Many avoidants grew up in environments where emotions were either unsafe, ignored, or met with judgment. So they learned early on that action is safer than expression, that love can't be held in words, but it can be carried in the form of being dependable, showing up when it counts, and taking care of the little things no one else notices. The second thing is that love can be deeper and more than the things we think we know. This doesn't mean they don't feel deeply, they do. In fact, many avoidants have a rich inner emotional world. They just don't trust that world to be received with kindness, so they guard it. And what you see on the outside is someone who may seem distant, but who is actually trying their best not to mess things up by doing too much or saying the wrong thing. The challenge is learning to recognize these subtle forms of affection. It means noticing what they do instead of obsessing over what they don't say. It means understanding that their silence isn't always absence, and their stillness isn't always disinterest. Sometimes the truest love isn't spoken. It's shown, quietly, in ways that require attention to feel. And when you start seeing those small signals for what they are, you begin to hear their heart, even when their mouth is closed. One of the most important signs that an avoidant loves you, though it may not seem like it, is that they stay. They don't bolt at the first sign of connection, even if their instinct screams at them to do so. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, emotional closeness can feel overwhelming, even threatening. It's not because they don't want love, but because love makes them feel vulnerable, and vulnerability to them can feel like danger. So when they remain in your life, despite these internal alarms, it's not apathy, it's effort. It's a powerful sign that they're choosing connection over comfort, which, for them, is a radical act of courage. Avoidants are wired to seek distance when they feel too emotionally exposed. Their defense mechanisms are not about punishing you, they're about protecting themselves. This is often rooted in past experiences where closeness led to disappointment, control, or rejection. So now, even when they feel love, that same love triggers an automatic response: pull away before it gets too real. The fact that they resist this urge, even inconsistently, is a major sign of emotional investment. If they're still texting back, still returning your calls, still showing up, even if it's at their own awkward pace, it means you matter to them more than their fear does. To the person on the other end, especially someone more secure or anxiously attached, this can be incredibly frustrating. You may interpret their need for space as disinterest or emotional coldness. You might think, if they loved me, wouldn't they want to be with me all the time? But what you have to realize is that for the avoidant, love doesn't look like constant contact. It looks like staying in proximity even when they want to run. It looks like choosing not to shut down or disappear. even if they're not being emotionally expressive. It looks like a slow, careful return after they've pulled away, because something inside them is saying, don't lose this. The way they stay might not look like what you're used to. It might mean checking in every few days instead of every few hours. It might mean fewer long talks and more shared routines. But what matters is consistency. The fact that they keep coming back, even after needing time apart, tells you that the connection is real. In their own way, they're fighting against their natural instinct to avoid intimacy. And every time they do, it's a step forward. It's an act of love, even if it doesn't come wrapped in the emotional openness you expect. You have to look past the surface. You have to pay attention to what's happening underneath, because an avoidant who stays is stretching their own limits. They're choosing to stay in a relationship that challenges their deeply rooted fears. That's not something they do lightly. It's a quiet, steady commitment, and it speaks louder than words ever could. Staying might not seem like much, but for them, it's everything.